In this video, I'm going to talk through 13 problems with owning an Airbnb that almost no one talks about. This can be an amazing, fun, and profitable business when set up correctly, but there are some hidden headaches in here that can turn your dream into a nightmare. But this video is not going to be all doom and gloom, because I'm going to show you how to overcome or avoid all of these problems, because that's how we roll on this channel. Now, in no particular order, at number 1, we have dealing with difficult guests. Unless you've worked in hospitality before, you're probably not going to understand what hospitality customers can be like. Now, I'm sure when you go to a restaurant or a hotel, you're a lovely guest, a lovely customer. Nothing is ever fazing you and you're just great. Or maybe you're not. Maybe your name's Karen.
Here comes Karen.
And wherever you go, you find problems and you start picking holes in that business because you feel slighted. Well, let me tell you, there are plenty of Karens in the Airbnb world. Now, don't get me wrong. As I always say, this is a hospitality business, and if something is genuinely wrong, then of course you as the host have to try and fix it and apologize to the guest for it happening. But like in all walks of life, there are just these really annoying guests who just come and feel entitled or horrible, condescending to you, and just feel like they can just get away with anything, make demands, want a refund, threaten a negative review. It's so unpleasant and it's not a nice part of this business. With guests like that, you're going to have a strong complaints procedure, something they can follow where you can resolve the issue, hopefully to everyone's satisfaction without it leading to a negative review. Now, whilst the Karens of this world are very, very frustrating, you can get other difficult guests who don't complain about anything. They just come and have a massive party in your place, break all your house rules, smoke in the property, damage the property, leave it a real mess. These can be some of the most frustrating guests to deal with. It's time consuming and it's really stressful as well, because the vast majority of the time, they don't give a shit what you have to say. For these guests, a very strong vetting procedure is needed so that you can actually stop them before they even get into your property and cause all this damage. But don't let me put you off. The vast majority of guests who are gonna come and stay in your place are gonna be nice. You just have to be ready for the 5 or maybe 10% that are not nice at all. The second problem is the impact of negative reviews on your ability to run this business. Every guest that comes and stays in your property will be pushed by Airbnb or any other booking site to leave a public review. If they've had a good time, happy days, hopefully you're gonna get a 5-star. You probably won't. It'll be everything's perfect, 4 out of 5. Talk about that another day. But if they haven't had a good time, if they've been a Karen, if you haven't responded to them well, if something genuinely has just gone wrong, you are going to get a negative review. Now, the beauty of these Karens is that they're few and far between. So one negative review out of a vast majority of 5 stars is not going to have that much impact. But if you're not running this property correctly, if you're not delivering the customer service, then multiple or many of those reviews will be average or below average. And that can have a catastrophic impact on your ability to get more bookings. Now remember, every day you're always looking for your next booking. If you don't get a booking one day, you're going to be sitting freaking out thinking, what the hell's going wrong here? You're always looking for your next one. And one of the biggest determinants of whether you get bookings is that review score that you have. So you have to work damn hard to get those 5 stars. Do whatever it takes. If something's not right, if a guest has had a bad experience, offer them a little bit of money back, but ask them for a 5-star review afterwards. That's the payment. When guests are in house and they're bombarding you with messages, deal with them professionally, because you want that 5-star. You need it. And if you want to see an in-depth video on how to get 5-star reviews every single time, watch this video. Now, if you're new here and you're thinking, why should I listen to this guy? Well, I run an award-winning property management company here in Belfast, hosting over 18,000 guests a year across 75 properties. That's why. And if you've been following me for a while, well, then you might notice my snazzy new sign over here. Stick around to the end and I'll tell you the crack about it. All right, the third problem is neighbour complaints. Now look, I don't know anyone who would be thrilled at the thought of an Airbnb opening up next door to them. I certainly wouldn't. So you can understand why neighbours get a little bit antsy when they see guests coming and going. So it's up to you as the host to allay their fears, show them how you're going to manage this property properly, and then keep them on side as you're running it. Now, they're going to come to you and say,
too many people were coming, it was too noisy, they were arriving too late.
And you have to deal with those. These people live here. You've got to keep them on side. They can be your eyes and ears. They can help you run this business. If some of these bad guests that we talked about previously have slipped through the net, they can help you get them out. But if you don't keep those neighbours on side, if you don't put trust in them and show them that you're running this business properly, they can make your life and your business a living hell. The fourth problem is the time-consuming management of this business. There are so many plates to spin. There are so many things that you as the host need to be on top of at all times. Now, you might think once a booking has come in, well, that's it, done until the guest arrives. No, you will be flooded with questions before the guest even arrives at your place.
How do you check in? What time can I check in? Can I check in early? Can I leave my bags off? Where do I drive to?
All these sorts of questions are going to be coming back and forth. You're going to have to deal with your rates, you're going to have to deal with maintenance, cleaners. It can feel like a full-time job. But this is why you're getting the big bucks. This is what you signed up for. And it can be worth it, but you have to systemize it. You can automate messages, you can leverage tech and other people to help you with these tasks. And that leads me into problem number 5, the sheer amount of work involved in the cleaning or turnover between guests. Now, if you're gonna do the cleaning yourself, well, let me tell you, you're an idiot. But if you're gonna get other cleaners to come in and help you, that is what you should do. But that takes work as well. That's not just a set and forget. You're gonna have to manage them, tell them the checkout time, tell them the days, make sure everything's there for them, make sure they arrive on time and that they're gonna be finished on time for the next guest arriving. And for back-to-back bookings, this can be very tight on time. So you have to find reliable, trustworthy cleaners that you know are gonna do a good job efficiently and properly. But as I say, I'm at 75 properties. It's still one of the biggest problems that we have. No one will clean your property as well as you. No one's going to care about it as much as you. So they will miss things. So it's so important that you try and provide as much support, whether it's a checklist, get photos sent from the cleaners to show that they've done the things that they're going to do, pay above the market rate in terms of payment for them. Make sure you're getting the best. Look, no one grows up wanting to be a cleaner. You have to make it worth their while, that they're going to enjoy coming to clean your place. Now, if you want to see a full video on how to systemize everything in this business so that it runs like clockwork and doesn't take over your entire life, watch this. And if you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe right now, and then leave me a comment telling me where you're from. I read and respond to every comment on here. I'm just getting started on this YouTube journey and I want to know where are you from and how can I help you. Next up, number 6 is getting your marketing right to actually get the bookings. If you're bringing a property to market in a saturated area, it is damn hard for you to get booked over your competition. Airbnb is such a saturated marketplace. There's going to be hundreds or thousands of competitors in your area that you're just going to have to fight against and try and beat them. So for that reason, you should never just rely on Airbnb. Get your property on every booking site that you can find. Make sure you invest in the highest quality photos to show the highest quality property that you've also made. These photos are your shop window or your adverts on the booking sites that you're hopefully going to stop the scroll and someone's going to click in and book your place. You have to have competitive pricing strategies. Everything just has to be hot for you to get booked. But honestly, the biggest thing is do not rely on Airbnb. Get yourself on every booking site that you can find. And the gold standard is when you're going to get direct bookings. So you cut Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, you cut them all out and you get the booking direct. If you want to know how to do that, watch this video on the best marketing techniques to get direct bookings in your Airbnb, in your short-term rental. Number 7 is the seasonal fluctuations in your area. Now, I can't tell you about the exact area that you're in because you haven't told me yet. Leave me a comment. But I know in Belfast, for example, even though it's a city destination, it is very seasonal. So it's super in demand in the summer and much less demand in the winter. Now, if you're on a rural or a seaside place, the chances are that's going to be even more so. So it's crucial that you factor this in before you even start, that you're aware that you're going to have the busiest times in the summer. So you're going to make hay while the sun shines and also put enough away that you're going to be able to ride out the cold, long, slow winter. And this is another reason why it's really important to have dynamic pricing to make sure that you're absolutely maximizing the rates that you can get in the summer and also offering the competitive rates in the winter, because people still will be coming and you want to be competitive so that you're the one that gets booked first. The summer is going to be periods of high demand but high supply, so the guests are sort of a bit limited about where they can pick. But in the winter time, there's going to be the same amount of supply but much less demand. So those few guests that are coming have their pick of every property in the area. So you have to make sure yours not only has the best reviews, but is the most competitively priced to get that booking. Number 8 is regulations and legal issues. Now again, I don't know where you're from. I do know these have come in all sorts of cities and areas around the world. There's a few waves being made here in Belfast as well. That's another video in itself. You know, if you want my opinion, there is no bigger transformational impact on a city compared to tourism. The money that tourists bring in spills out into all walks of life and really helps to lift up an area. But that's my argument for another day with another counsellor. The thing to be aware of is what are the specific regulations and laws in your area, because you need to make sure when you're starting, you're not going to break any of them. You don't want to get set up, have hundreds of bookings in, thousands of pounds worth of bookings in the future, and then get a letter from someone to say you're breaking the law and you need to shut down, because those are a lot of awkward conversations with those guests who have planned their holiday to come and stay in your place. That is not a pleasant place to be. Number 9 is increased utility costs. If you've been renting out your property to tenants, you won't even have known what the utility costs are because those tenants would have been paying them. But as soon as you switch it to guests and you're paying for those utility costs, my God, you get very involved in what those costs are. Your utility bills will go through the roof. Heating, electricity, no one cares when they stay on a property. They will leave lights on, leave heating on, open windows when it gets too hot. They don't care. So you've got to be really on the ball here. Put in devices where you can help to monitor and to a little bit restrict what guests can use. So if you have a thermostat for the heating, set it to go off at 22 or 23 degrees Celsius this is, just so you can keep a track and keep a little bit of a cap on it. But with electricity, it's pretty much impossible to do that. You can't have the electricity just cut out on guests during their stay. But guests are so savvy and they're getting really aware of what they can do. So one of the people in my Airbnb community, for people who are just getting started and want a bit of support, if you want more about that, you can click the link down below. She told me about how a guest came and has been charging their electric car in a plug socket in her house. How can you stop that? Like, can you just go after the guest and try and get the money? But this is what I'm talking about. The guests feel entitled that when they're there, they can use everything, and they can, but some people just take it a wee bit past what fair usage is. Number 10 is the wear and tear that your property's gonna encounter. Guests are just a little bit more careless whenever they're staying in your place compared to when they're at home. They're going to be bringing a suitcase in and scraping that handle all along your wall. Their kids are going to be bouncing on all your beds. And just in general, with the constant throughput of so many people in your property, wear and tear is going to happen much quicker than if people just lived in it. And the crucial thing to remember is, because there's new guests coming every time, that wear and tear needs to be sort of eradicated. Not weared, not teared. Everything needs to be looking perfect before every set of guests arrive. So that leads me on to number 11, which is the constant maintenance and repairs of things. You're gonna have to repaint frequently. You're gonna have to replace cushions, mattresses, sheets, cups and glasses. Stuff is gonna get broken on almost, it feels like, a weekly basis. People are just less careful when they're staying in an Airbnb. And these costs do add up. So it's really important that when you're factoring in what you think you're going to make from this property, you set aside a significant enough portion, 5%, 10% of what you think you're going to make to keep for maintenance and repairs. Because honestly, if you let this property get tired and you don't deal with all the little things that are getting broken, guests are going to start noticing it and they're going to start leaving it in reviews, and then we're going to go back to the negative reviews and you're going to struggle to get bookings. So you've got to keep on top of it. Have a team of tradespeople who, when a guest reports an issue, you can get it fixed like that, because speed is of the essence. Next up is the hidden fees and costs in this business. Now, if you're just running on Airbnb, it's going to be 3% commission that you pay to them. There's a service fee that the guest pays. But if you follow my instructions and you use a channel manager, which you definitely should, so you can get on all these different booking sites and not have to worry about double bookings, then Airbnb classes you as a professional host, not a professional house, and you now are charged 15%, which is in line with Booking.com and Expedia and the rest. Now, you might think that's bad, but actually I think it's better for guests. They don't see the service fee that they pay. They know that the host is paying it. And even if you've increased your rate to incorporate that extra service fee in your rates, it's going to seem like a better deal for the guests. So it can actually increase your bookings. Never mind all the thousands of extra pounds that you're going to get from being on these different booking sites and not just relying on Airbnb. But the other fees that you might not be expecting is, for example, cleaning. You're going to go through a hell of a lot of cleaning supplies, because this place is going to be getting cleaned potentially 2 or 3 times a week, every week of the year, if you run it properly. And that all adds up. Then on top of that, you got supplies to restock. If you leave a welcome pack, you're going to have your tea and coffee, bits and pieces. If you leave toiletries, you're going to have to keep them topped up. If you leave toilet roll, you're going to have to find where you're going to get the best deal on that. So my point is, these things do add up and they can be a bit unexpected. So start to expect them, so that you're not surprised and they don't eat into your profits. And the last problem that no one talks about is the potential of an economic downturn, when the arse falls completely out of the industry, just like a few years ago when the Rona came. Now, economic instability can reduce demand and reduce travel, so it is something to bear in mind. I don't think we're ever going back to the days of 2020, but stuff can happen, recessions, things like that. So just be prepared that if you're offering uber luxury sort of thing, that the demand for that might drop and people might not be able to afford those high nightly rates. Or maybe those top 0.1% won't be affected by the recession and they'll just continue to travel while all the rest of us sink into despair. So yeah, maybe it'll be all right actually. Now, if you've watched this video, I'm assuming that you're at the beginning of your Airbnb journey, and that is so exciting. Next up, you need to watch this video about 14 things that I wish I knew before I got started. I really hope you enjoy it. Now, if you're still here, I can tell you about the sign. Now, if you follow this channel, you know I hate the term Airbnb. I'm always telling people not to rely on Airbnb, to use other booking sites. We only get about less than 10% of our bookings through Airbnb. But I gotta feel the algorithm, and most people who are just getting started know the industry as Airbnb. Add to that the terms short-term rental or serviced accommodation if we're in the UK do not fit very well in titles. Airbnb is quite short and it fits in quite nicely. But apart from that, I just like the color, I like the sign, I think it vibes in well with the yellows that I've got going on. By the way, yellow is my color because I'm from Northern Ireland and we have two big yellow cranes, Samson and Goliath. My branding for my business is yellow. If you've heard anything about the troubles in Northern Ireland, yellow is probably one of the only colors that is non-political. So it goes with the yellow, I like it. It's here. I've enjoyed this chat. I hope you have too. I'll maybe do it again at the end of the next video. Be like those end credit scenes in the end of the Marvel movies. See you next time.